Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath. For those of you that clicked this video, I'm going to tell you something that every single human being needs to know. We are all connected. And at the end of the day, all that there is the most radiating of love. I thought that I would get on camera for this story. I thought that I would let it marinate. I thought that I should wait. But I have been hit with waves of emotion today. And part of the reason that I am here is to be obedient when spirit is near and to communicate. For those of you that grew up in the church or any kind of Christianity, then the quickest way to say it is that the Holy Spirit is moving completely through me. I can barely talk, but they said I had to tell you. I have battled this year to stay here. And every time I thought that I had conquered something else came, and it was more dangerous, and there was more pain than I've ever been in my life. But excuse me, guys. But I sorry, tissue time. I was supposed to be here. I'm so sorry, guys. I was supposed to be here, and it's to tell you about this. Now, what I'm going to tell you is something you may have heard so many times. What I just said is so cliche. It's in every song. It's in every nursery rhyme that we should be good to one another. We're all connected. Be kind to your brother. Do unto people as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule, tried and true. But we get into these bodies and we forget that we are here to simply connect. And we perceive that we could be better or lesser than anybody. And it's a lie. Do not let these precious moments of your life pass you by. We are one. Learning this lesson for me has been less than fun. I believe we choose our parents to come through to learn lessons. I believe we choose our bodies. I would believe we choose the seconds when we feel rejected and cast away. So many of us don't want to stay on this earth plane. Confirmation for somebody here listening who's been thinking of escaping. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that leaving isn't so refreshing. It's heavy to be in your body. It's hard to feel the weight of your traumas that haven't healed. I'm talking about childhood and lifetimes and generationals. Somebody here listening has contemplated suicide. And I know what that is. I know that wild ride because in my teens, I thought of it too. In this year, it's not something that I wanted to do. I never wanted to live more. And I felt like God was ushering me out the door. But it was for this reason. It was for this season of my life so that I could come here and tell you the truth that I know is right. We are all one. We are love. My near-death experiences have not been like what you may hear if you were to watch YouTube or listen to anybody or read any of the books. I have known people that have remembered exchanging glances, looks, hugs, and touches with Jesus or God or whatever they perceived, and I believed them, even if later in life they were never to be believed. I knew that thing they said was true. Excuse me, guys. My situation was different than maybe many of you. See, I didn't have any memories per se, but this overwhelming love and understanding that was sent my way of what we're really here to do. For many of you here, you've heard me talk about my journey, about narcissistic abuse, and about parental misuse and neglect, all the things that we try so hard to forget in all of our therapy sessions and to work through. But what happened when I crossed is that suddenly I knew that they were loved too. And it blew me away. There is no discrimination for the kindness that is sent our way from the universal soul, God, the Creator. It's easy when you're here to be a line delineator, to say it. They are not like me because they were cruel. They were mean. Look at what they did do. But when you're removed from your body, they are just like you. And they are loved too. I know that may be hard to hear for people that suffered at the hands of people that felt so dehumanized and cruel, but it's the truth. It's a hard truth for me to say because so many times in my life that love was not given to me or sent my way when I did give it to others. But that's what I learned in my experience, is that God's calling. Sorry, guys. Oh, I don't even know if well, maybe God knew I needed a break to get myself together. Man, when I say they give me a message, I try to be obedient, and they have removed all pretense and vanity. They said, that's not who we sent you here to be. You get to be that sometimes, but we have messages for you to give. And we allowed you, exactly, Monette, to live, to say this. You better love those people around you if you're listening. Forgive those narcissists. I know you say, how can you say that? That's what I learned in my um journey here, is that lower vibrations exist in fear, but it doesn't separate them from the human experience, and it doesn't mean that they are not loved and given a chance to. Everybody has a choice to make. We all have different things to do. When you cross over, you don't want to come back. I had to make my peace with death this year, and I did. It's crazy. I used to talk to someone who had a near-death experience as a kid, and she always talked about wanting to leave, and I thought she was crazy. I thought it was asinine. I thought, you were just a baby. What do you mean you don't like Earth as an adult? But I get it now. And while my experience wasn't as profound, what I got was this energy of understanding that we are all connected, and that we come in and we forget it, and that kids remember it. And that's why babies look into your soul, and kids know who is good and who is bad because they're new from home. And home is the place you cross over to, where your angels and ancestors are actually literally waiting for you. It is not a myth. It is not oxygen deprivation. It is an encounter so vivid with the most magnificent creation. It takes your breath away. When I got home back here after being so near to death so many times, the last time the doctors looked at me and they said, "This is more than an emergency. Tomorrow you'll be dead." You don't have time to process when that happens. And they whisked me off to surgery. I had a couple of emergency surgeries in 24 hours to save my life. And I had just had a few surgeries earlier in the summer, 3. Those had me close to death, but they were not life threatening to that degree. This last time is when I got to see and feel the divine love and energy. If you have something to do, nothing can stop you. Even something spreading through you that's trying to kill you. God is so good, but it's so much deeper than that. When I got out and I was seeing follow up doctors and having appointments and everything after being in the hospital for about a month, the first doctor that I went to, an older gentleman who was about to retire, been practicing for almost 50 years. And after the nurses and medical techs disappeared for some reason, which was so strange, I found myself in the hallway with him. Excuse me, guys. I found myself in the hallway with him, and we were by ourselves. This is not in a dream. This was not a crossover near death experience. This was real. This was reality. My husband was in the lobby waiting for me, and it was weird because normally one of the medical assistants would escort me out, but my angels wanted me to know that this was not what that was about. And Dr. Olson looked at me, and we were walking slowly. He's ambling, he's an older man. He had on bubblegum socks and a pink tie. And he said, I got to walk my daughter. I got to escort my daughter to heaven in a hallway that was kind of like this, except on each side there were trees and butterflies, and I was holding her hand, he said. And he said, she squeezed my hand and looked up at me and said, "Daddy, this is like the Garden of Eden." And he looked at me and he said, "Because it was." He had been in a car accident in, he said, the 60s. And he said he looked back in the car as a doctor then already. I think he was a doctor at that time. And he said, "This is not good." He knew his daughter had passed, but he was out of his body looking into the car. This doctor standing there with me a few weeks ago, quietly, I was the last patient in the office. And for some reason, well, I know the reason, the angel saw fit to clear everyone away, and it was just me and him standing. He could have almost reached out to hold my hand, and he stopped and he looked at me and he said, "Heaven was so grand, and I didn't want to come back, but they said I had to. But I got to take her to heaven. It was the best thing I did do." It broke me open, guys. Since I've been in the hospital and since I've had the year I have had so many conversations randomly that weren't random with strangers that weren't strangers because we're all connected, where they're telling me their view of God through their eyes from crossing over. It was not a coincidence that day that me and that doctor stood in that hallway and that he felt comfortable enough with me to say that he doesn't know what I do, he doesn't know who I am. I was just his patient. But God let me see into his eyes that he knew a truth that I think you all should know. I don't want you to have to go the way that I did go or the way that anybody does go to get to that scene. I want you to understand that life and afterlife is evergreen. I never thought that I would be okay with dying. I never thought that I would want to give up trying. I was an eternal optimist. I was going to get it right, even though life had beat me down and I'd put up such a fight. I never thought I'd be okay. But when you know what's on the other side, you're almost willing to throw whatever this life is away. And I don't mean that recklessly, and I don't mean that in any suicidal ideations. I mean in sweet release for the Father of creation. To be in a world where you're weightless, to be in a world where there is no pain, to be in a space where you can see the golden, essentially spider webs of connectivity that we all exist in. What you do unto your brother, you do unto the least of them, and you do unto yourself, you do unto me. We think here in our three-dimensional vibration and reality that you can get away with murder, but the whole universe does see. And this is not about redemption or revenge, but it is to understand you would never be a bad person or a friend if you knew that what you gave out, you get back immediately. That there is no line of delineation just because you can't see. That if you've judged someone and looked out on them, then you will feel that pain too. And if you've loved someone and edified them, someone will come along and do the same for you. That is why we're here. There are deeper things to take a look at and deeper lessons to learn. What is your purpose and your soul's mission? What are you here? What lessons will teach you, even the ones that burn? Inside of each of us, there is a gem. There is a thing that we were here to do. I'm not just talking about my earth angels and empaths. I'm talking about even the people that abused you. That was the hardest part for me when I came back in. My angel said you have to forgive them. That was the hardest part. You see, in ego, you don't want to forgive, you want to hold on to the pain. But when I got to feel it energetically, I realized that it was insane. Whether they are soulless or demonic or any other word I might want to ascribe, they are still humans, they are still alive, and from what I understand, they are loved. And we are all connected. We have choices to make. None of us perfected. But for my empaths and earth angels that have held on to grudges and hatred and anger and bitterness and shame and rejection and pain, you are loved. Even if you have no forgiveness for the person who put you through that, understand that they were assigned just to do that so that you could ascend. Even if they didn't do it on perfect, even if they didn't do it to be your friend, if you are here and you are listening, you know how to transmute. You know how to turn around the pain from your youth. Forgive those people. It doesn't mean go back and be in their life, but it means to understand that even though what they did was not right, that we are from the same thread. That's what I learned. That's the thing that's been reverberating in my head. I kept asking, as many of us do, if I'm a good person and I always come through and I try to be obedient and I teach and I pray, then why, dear God, did you send this kind of trauma and pain my way? And I'm not just talking about the psychological and emotional abuse, I'm talking about what I physically went through this year. I thought, this isn't fair. It doesn't make sense. But it was to break me open and to humble me so that I could understand vulnerability in its truest. We are here for a split second, guys. Love the people that you love. And if you have to protect yourself because not everyone is sent from above, then do that. But remember, even in the little things that you think you get away with, good or bad, everything is accounted for, everything is seen. What you do unto another, you do unto me, you do unto yourself. I don't have enough words to convey how connected we are and how everything from the butterfly you see to the blade of grass and to the person that you judge on the street to the person that you judge for being too rich or too poor, or to the sex worker that you abhor, to the person who abused or molested you. It's all connected. That's what my angels showed me is the truth. It's hard because we want to separate it, right? Because we want to keep ourselves safe from the things that go bump in the night. And I'm not saying that things don't go bump in the night because they do. But I was shown that we are all one. That thing that goes bump in the night is you. We are shadow and we are light. And we only get one powerful warrior life. We are warriors to come into this body. We are warriors to come into these challenges. Not every ascended being does this. Some stay out of it. But we chose to be here. We chose to bring this experience near, up close, close enough to smell it. And if you have chosen that and you're an earth angel and an empath, then you've had more than your fair share of pain. But what your angels want you to know is that not 1 second of it is in vain. Not one. God, it absolutely floored me when I saw that. It cracked open my heart chakra. As you can see, I went through all kinds of emotion, and depression was one. See, when you come back into your body, you're resentful because you realize how good it can be somewhere else. But then you realize that you have work to do. It's communicated so clearly to you, and for me, it was as well. One of my favorite near death experience stories is from a woman who was kidnapped, and her parents exposed her to pedophiles, and she was taken to Asia and then to Africa and sold from man to man until she ended up in an African village. She was white, and it was dangerous for them to take her in. It was in the 70s when there was war and everything going on and strife, and the way that they punished in this war was they wanted to kill any white children or white people so they could take their land to get retribution. So she was a danger to have. And one day a soldier came upon her. Finally, she gets love. African women take her in and treat her like one of theirs after she'd been passed around for years. She was only 8 by the time she got there. God, the things we endure when we come into this body. And so She was down by a river playing by herself, and a soldier from the opposing army came upon her. She said that as she saw the barrel get closer to her face and it was just a small hole, a circle, she knew it was over for her. He shot her. It grazed her head, and she began to bleed, and she bled and bled, and had many in and out experiences of near death. But in one, she came upon someone that she assumed was Jesus. He was warm and loving and embraced her, and he was calm. And then in the same moment, she went to another place and she saw Shiva. I have a video up here called Shiva, Shakti, and Spider Bites. See, I was introduced to Shiva. Shiva is considered the Lord of Destruction. And this is not about me encouraging multiple deities, but this point she made that I could not disagree. She said, how did me, a white kid who had no religion, I had parents that sold me off to pedophiles and allowed me to be abused and abused me themselves. They put no religion in me. I'm only 8. And when I cross over, I see Jesus and Shiva, the Lord of Destruction and creation. See, I met Shiva in a very powerful place in my life where everything had to be destroyed. And Shiva's premise is, in order to create something, there must be destruction. It created me a warrior and someone who was resilient. But how did that 8-year-old that had no wherewithal of religion or Christianity or denominations both see Shiva and Jesus? And now she can reference it, and she's an adult telling her story. We don't know anything. We know a fraction of nothing. But when you cross over, you get a glimpse and you realize that life does not end, that you are not sad when you cross over, that you kind of want to be there. And if you are tasked to come back, it's because you have a purpose and you have teaching to do. You have people to connect with and love to share, and you have forgiveness of yourself and others to bear. It is a heavy weight to forgive. Eventually, the release, sweet release, comes. But sometimes in our human state, we want to hold on to the things and those that have wronged us, yeah? Because it makes us feel like no one will ever do this to me again. But they, even in their twisted way, were sent here to help you ascend. I'll talk more about it when I can. Clearly, you can see I'm not out of my own woods. Permanently, not yet. But when I can get on here and face you, I will share the rest. Hug the people that you love. Have compassion on the people that you judge, because they are part of you. It's an inescapable fact. They are you. For those of you that have suffered narcissistic abuse, you think they are not me. On a lower vibration, the shadow side and the worst of you. I didn't want to hear that. I was stubborn. I have the video evidence here to prove it. I did not want to release my anger from my father on down the line of narcissists that did do it to me, that traumatized and abused and took advantage and duped and gaslit and lied and manipulated me. I didn't want to let go of it because I felt empowered in my anger. See, empath, when we've been doormats for so long, that anger is a stranger. We push it away because it scares us. We figure out how to triage through love. But that anger, Shiva, destruction, saved my life. And it caused me to reassess everything I knew. And it served a purpose for a while. It did. It helped me to get through. There's a red cardinal outside right now. Thank you, angels, for the communication. That's about root chakra, being grounded, speaking your truth, standing in your power, right on a branch outside. At this divine hour, he's well fed, he is happy, and we are connected. You see, that's the magic. Though that's part of the unexpected. When the doctor told me about walking his daughter down that aisle to heaven, that overgrown tree aisle, he said there were butterflies and everything sparkled and glittered, and it's like they were talking to us, just like this bird showed up. They are in fact talking to you. I've always known I'd had something greater to do, but I couldn't get to the greater part as long as I was bitter. The video evidence is here. I went through my process, I shared, and the people that were allowed to betray me were allowed to do it so that I could share this message with you, that even though it was awful when it happened, it's just but a moment, and they are loved too. I know you don't want to hear it, some of you guys. They have choices to make just like you. Don't waste your life. I'm not saying go back, and I'm not saying focus on them, but I'm saying, my sweet empath and earth angel, for you, a new life you get to begin. Look up the red cardinal today and read the totem animal. Anybody that heard this video, you get to enjoy that energy. The animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, human beings, we all share a synergy. When you release whatever the pain is that you carry, and you decide no longer to tarry in your own personal misery, you can really get on to what this life is about. It goes by so quickly. Don't waste a second of it. Realize that we are all love, and that at the end of it, it's all love. It's not just a cliche, it's not just a Beatles song, it's not just something that Barb Marley sang, it's not just a refrain regarding rubbing our genitals together and being insane and oxytocin and serotonin. It's so much bigger than the basic stuff we focus on. Excuse me. Crazy that that bird's still out there, that cardinal. We are love. You are loved. You are love. You create love. And when it's over, it's all just love. It's a zero sum game. It's crazy to me to think how much pain we allow ourselves to bathe in, thinking that there's any real difference. That's really called being in the matrix. To leave your body and to be so close to death is to know that there's always something next. Remember your assignment and path. Remember why you came here, Earth Angel. It wasn't to hold grudges, and it wasn't to get revenge. It was to communicate with every human. The Cardinal's now facing me. It's to communicate with every single human exactly that you are connected and you are loved. Thank you for bearing with me on all that. Let's see if I load it. It would be disobedient not to, yeah? I appreciate you. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.